2, 1, and we're live.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a Thursday evening Med Missionary membership. Every Thursday, we try to get on with our members, and those are people who have taken the course, who have signed up for the membership, are wanting more support, and so they sign up for a year-long membership with us. And so right before we start a new class, we usually have an open house or two. And just to give people an idea of what some of our membership programs are about, last week Mercy did a program about natural remedies for pain. And I think that was a very high value one. I saw a lot of good comments and it seemed like there was good interaction. Mercy, did you have good interaction on that one?
Yes. It was such a blessing to do live, actually people that had issues that needed we did it on people. So it was all real. So it was such a blessing to see that happening. Yes.
Very good, very good. So today we are here, and you know what I like to do every once in a while with people is to check in and see how people are doing. Usually, I like to get some one-on-one type of thing. I didn't realize that we were going to be doing this all on YouTube, though. So I'm not really sure like how people are going to ask questions and that kind of thing. Is it all by comments on the YouTube?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, so we had to check YouTube and see who's asking questions. So I'm gonna go there and
okay.
you can read the questions.
So for those of you who don't know, we do have a course that we do every 2 to 3 months, and it's the Med Missionary course where we talk about a very therapeutic meal plan type of diet that we guide people along through a 2-month course period. And this therapeutic program its objective is to help heal leaky gut. It's to help people with food sensitivities. A lot of times, people who have chronic disease, especially with autoimmune conditions, we know that one of the things that has to happen is that you develop gut permeability, and so what we try to do is help people learn how to do this in a plant-based fashion, soaking and sprouting, to decrease anti-nutrients, to improve digestibility, to improve immune function and nutrients and that kind of thing. And we have found that just making some of these very simple changes that people have really recovered health from very serious conditions. And so, yeah, we're very, very happy.
So we also like to do natural remedies in the meantime to help with issues like pain, digestive issues, things like that. So, but the diet, the lifestyle is very important to follow to remove inflammation, things like that. So the natural remedies are the extra things that we use to help people to feel better while they're doing our protocols.
Yes.
Yes. So natural remedies are so important part of our program also, the program that we do training. And, that remind me that, when we do these type of classes, like just natural remedies, that reminds me how important they are, how we should always utilize these type of therapies, because it really brings quick relief to people while they start removing the inflammation, people that have been sick for a long time. So this helps to, for the time being. It's not like that they're the treatments for long term, but that this is the treatments to relieve the suffering. So,
Well, that brings us to a good point here. We have a question from somebody who is asking about how to go about treating a paralyzed section of their bowel.
sure. Yeah, for the bowel, let's see. So what is treating paralyzed section of the bowel? Okay, when it's paralyzed, that means that the nervous system is not working, not functioning well. So I will do hot and cold towels to the stomach, to the abdominal area. Also, we will do onion broth to remove the inflammation. Poultices, charcoal poultice will be wonderful too. And totally, definitely change the diet. That is probably the issue why people having this issue.
Yeah, and it's, the longer that something has been paralyzed, it would be harder. But we have seen, in cases where people have gastroparesis, for instance, where they do have significant improvement with a combination of dietary changes as well as the natural remedies, implementing the massage of the gut area, implementing the hydrotherapy and implementing the protocol, as Mercy mentioned, with the onion broth and these kinds of foods and drinks that are very healing to the gut. So it has been helpful for that.
I would
Mercy,
also
have
do.
you?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I would also do enema with the onion broth, onion garlic broth, to decrease inflammation directly into the area. But what was your comment?
Oh, well, my question was, I know that, we've helped people with gastroparesis, and that's the stomach, but how about with the bowel? Have you helped someone with actual paralysis of a section of the bowel?
A lot of people have this issue, but it goes undiagnosed. They just see the food just sits there. A lot of people, it shows with constipation also because the bowels are not moving.
Mhm.
So, for all those issues, we had to do all this, all these therapies, heat to the abdomen. We do massage also to move the bowels. So it's many things that can be done, like the things that I mentioned. I think that there will be help.
And I'm really curious how long it's been paralyzed and how was that, diagnosed and what other conditions you have and that kind of thing. It would be very interesting to know. There's a question here. Can you recommend any Christian mental health counselors? And, we do know some good mental health counselors. Right there where you live in Central California, you have the Beautiful Minds people with Dr. Daniel Binus and his group. Dr. Daniel Binus is a psychiatrist, and I know that he works, I think, with Amanda Anguish and some other people, and I know that they do Christian counseling. That's here on the West Coast. And I believe that Dr. Sandoval with New Paradigm, he also does Christian counseling and that type of thing. I'm really interested. I told Davey that I want to do this. I want to actually have a podcast where people can call in questions, and I would like to deal with, you know, uh, spiritual, emotional health issues as well. I'm interested in all aspects of wholeness, and so I thought that that would be a really cool thing. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
I think
nothing
that's.
wrong to
Go ahead.
finding help, right? Nothing wrong with finding help. It's good to have help with people that are very knowledgeable on what to do. So because I think that was the question, if it's okay to do it or not.
No, can you recommend any Christian mental health counselors? Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah. So it's do we know of any? And so, what's really interesting, I had a friend who came and visited, and she had been on anxiety medicines for a while. And then we just talked about, why she was on these anxiety medicines and, what it was that caused her to be on this. And then she attended a seminar, a conference where David, I think his last name is Ing, he's the one that talks about um, spiritual warfare. And he was talking about mental health and these types of things. Anyways, she got off of her anxiety meds. The next time I saw her, she was off of them. She'd been on them for years. And she was telling me how much more awake she felt, how much more involved with life she felt. But I feel like, and she let me know this, it had something to do with this combination, I think, of just listening to David, talking about some of these issues, like why she felt like she needed to be on these anxiety medicines, and now she feels like she's getting her life back. Because I think before she said she felt like she was kind of numb. She wasn't anxious, but she was just kind of numb. And so yeah, I think it's a real good thing to look into these things.
Yes, so
Okay.
that will be the first thing to do, right? To change the diet, remove the inflammation. The brain gets inflamed also. So our
Well, for her, it was just thinking differently for her, and so, yeah, I think it's a combination of things for people. Yeah, all these things will play into each other. Okay, so this other question here, it says, my grandmother is 91 with bone pain. She can barely walk. Is there any way to heal from this at her age, or at least get some relief? She's been prescribed oxycodone for the pain. Okay, Mercy, what do you think about that?
I don't think it's never late for anybody. There's so many things can be done for pain. To begin with will be the diet, an anti-inflammatory diet to remove the inflammation. Whatever is happening, she might be having osteoporosis, or it can be muscle, because the muscles are, in the area. It could be that too. It could be combination of nerves, things like that. So I would, do a great anti-inflammatory diet, and then also put a poultice. This is something that has helped in a person that was having pain in the sole of the foot, which is the bones there when she's pressing down. And we did a poultice using turmeric, the peel powder of orange, and flaxseed, and ginger. So equal parts, one, equal parts. So you can start with 1 teaspoon of each one, or 1 tablespoon of each one, depending how big the area is. And just put in a paper, mix it with a little water, put in a paper towel, and put that poultice in the area. I think that can bring relief, so the person can go sleep. Because that's the problem. It seems like when somebody has pain, at night the pain intensifies, and so we do poultices at night, so they can rest better and feel better the next day. So I will do that and definitely improve the diet.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how much diet plays a role. As someone who, I was diagnosed with the fibromyalgia, and I kind of was in denial of it until it got to the point that I actually developed mast cell activation and this kind of thing when my immune system got really bad. And when I was diagnosed with all these food sensitivities, and it got to a point where I was sensitive to all these healthy foods, once you clear them out, then when you reintroduce some of them, you find out, wow, even one ingredient can cause significant pain, and so it's really helpful for people to get on this kind of a total dietary change, because usually by the time you're so inflamed, just removing like one thing like gluten will not do it for you. A lot of people say, well, I removed gluten and I had no improvement. Well, maybe it's because you are so inflamed and there's so many things you're sensitive to. So what we do, in the cookbook, getting you off of even nightshades, getting you off of the gluten, the yeast, the grains, the soy, the GMOs, and then giving you some other foods that you can eat while you're trying to heal. There have been people who have gotten off of these narcotics. I remember when we went to Black Hills a couple years ago, we went to Black Hills and we put on a program, and there was a man who was on pain medicines just to get out of bed and he needed a cane to walk because he had two problems. He had been in a car accident that caused him significant pain, and then he had multiple myeloma with metastasis to the bones, which is quite painful. And so he was on morphine to get out of bed, so that some people, they have so much pain they can't even get out of bed without some kind of pain medicine. And within 5 days of being on this diet, because Black Hills actually implemented this diet, and doing all of this for him for 5 days, by the end of that time, he was able to walk without his cane and get out of bed without pain medication. So it just shows you just how helpful the dietary changes can be. Now, as far as the paralyzed bowel, Adeweliga says that this person has been with a paralyzed portion of the bowel all his life, undiagnosed, except by knee. He's 74. If you could put down what kind of symptoms he's having, Adeweliga, I'd be interested to know, and how you diagnosed that. Okay, Irene's asking,
Can I say a little bit about that? About inflammation of the bowels?
Go ahead.
Yeah, a direct way to help it will be the onion garlic broth enemas will be very helpful. So regardless of whatever condition it is, it can be Crohn's disease, can be IBD, it can be ulcerative colitis. It depends what it is, but it seems that the onion broth will be very helpful for all of them. There's one that they asked that we missed. It was about celecovics.
We didn't miss that one. We were just getting to that one. That one's the next one.
Oh, okay. I had it upside down here. All right. So you want to go to that one?
Okay. Hello. Can I get off my celecoxib medication for my SA disease during the program?
Okay, so I think it is AS, right? Ankylosing spondylitis.
Is that what you're talking about? SA?
Yeah, talking about that. She clarified later on because there is nothing about SA but AS, and then she clarified later.
Okay.
Definitely, but the first thing needs to happen. This is an autoimmune disease, so their autoimmune disease have to be controlled. It has to be put in remission for the symptoms to be gone, and then so we had to follow a diet that Dr. Joyce said, remove gluten, remove grains, and remove all these inflammatory foods, processed foods, things like that. We have a specific plan for autoimmune disease in our course. That is everything that we put in the course is to help with autoimmune disease. It's very, very detailed. It's an 8-week class, so we couldn't explain it to you, just shortly here, but that would be great for you to do, because it is a very debilitating condition. Some people cannot move, turn the heads to one side, the other side. It's very painful. So I think with our anti-inflammatory foods, plant-based, that we do is removing a lot of the foods that might be foods that are, causing issues, besides everything else, right? All the lifestyle is definitely big possibility to remove medications.
Yeah, that would be a aim for all of us, is to try to minimize medication dependence. And we actually have a beautiful testimony by a physician, Dr. Esteban, who had ankylosing spondylitis, and he was able to see, like he said, over 90 some percent improvement in his symptoms um, by taking the course and implementing it. And so that would be what we would hope for, that you would be able to significantly improve your symptoms and minimize dependence. And yes, we have had people with ankylosing spondylitis. Norma asks, I have a question regarding a customer that I will be helping soon. She wants to know if I'm allowed to talk to her about health, since I told her I was a health coach. Okay, I'm trying to understand this question. She wants to know if I'm allowed to
Mm.
talk to her about health.
The
I,
reason is because since they're coaches, they feel
uh-huh,
that they cannot talk about diagnosis, medications, things like that. But she's probably trained with us as with our training, which we do also coaching.
uh-huh,
So, we coach lifestyle. We don't coach about medical um things, right? We
uh-huh.
really we just coach lifestyle. We say we are lifestyle coaches. We're going to help you change your lifestyle with diet, sleep, and hydration, things like that. So that's how we we train people that take our course to help other people. So you
You
can see that.
you have to talk about health, and we're not giving health
Mhm.
coaching necessarily. We're giving or advice. We're not telling people to get off of certain medications, and when we tell them to keep on working with their physician, but we're giving them lifestyle education that will impact their health and will impact their medication dependence and this kind of thing. And so we do ask them to work with their physician, let their physician know what they're doing. And it's good for us to all know about these health things. That's why during the course, we talk about labs, and we talk about what kind of labs you can ask your doctor to get, and these types of things.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Sharon said that you add ginger now. We have a poultice that is made out of turmeric, orange peel, flaxseed. And then when the pain is very, mm, high level of pain, we added the ginger also. So, I think the more super anti-inflammatory foods, we mix them, I think it's better. So that is an alternative to adding the ginger.
Okay, Rebecca asks, how can I decrease the inflammation in the colon? Thank you so much. And Rebecca, if you could comment, how is that inflammation in the colon manifesting? When you say there's inflammation in the colon, I'd be interested to know why you say there's inflammation in the colon and how it's manifesting. Layla is asking, how would you tell sunflower seeds are causing problems when doing the protocol? Well, one way that I figured that out for myself was that, I actually went to Years Restored in 2016, and I did the 10-day detox program. And for the first 5 days, we were just drinking a lot of things. We weren't eating. And so I was drinking the juices, the herbal teas, and I felt great. And then, especially because I was doing enemas, and those things are very, very um, helpful as far as pain is concerned, getting toxins out of the system. And so when I started eating again, I started noticing the pain was coming back. And something that Mercy has experienced with her other clients is that some of these higher protein foods might cause people to have more inflammation, especially the sunflower seeds. And so when I got off of the sunflower seeds, I found that I did better. And I do find that I don't eat sunflower seeds a whole lot right now. I eat pumpkin seeds a lot more than I do sunflower seeds. And the other thing I noticed is that if I eat too many cashews, because I did try starting to implement cashews again, I started having a lot of pain. And as someone was mentioning, pain on the bottoms of my feet. That's when it's like, oh, you can't even walk that well because you feel like you are walking on these pea pods. And so, yeah, you'll find that there's certain foods that are going to cause more pain, especially if you eat more of them, so sometimes you can tolerate a small amount, not too much with more. So when you're reintroducing food into your diet, that's typically when you can identify when something is an issue. And let's see, as far as decreasing inflammation in the colon, you've heard Mercy talk about some of these remedies, in addition to the dietary changes, also to, she mentioned the enema with onion broth. At the Lifestyle Center, they'll do dandelion tea enemas with a little bit of Epsom salt. And the other thing that I think would be helpful that we haven't really touched upon a whole lot, but I know that in our course, in our membership, Dana Lott Gesellschaft, she has a shop, I think it's Closer for Jesus, where she sells a detox for parasites. And that might be helpful also for many of us, because I think many of us have parasites that are causing us to stay sick, even if we are, improving our diets and that kind of thing. And so detoxing from parasites with mimosa pudica, with the herbs like black walnut hull, cloves, and wormwood, and then to do the charcoal and the diatomaceous earth and that kind of thing, that can also help as well. So I don't know if we have, there's another question here. Nitsa is asking, how can I elevate my MCH, MCHC, and my ferritin? They are low and I'm always tired. And this has to do with your blood. If you have low ferritin, that's typically you're anemic.
Mm-hmm. And also the other markers are because it's anemia. So we have to feed, anemia has to be taken care. And usually anemia, because I had anemia when I started getting sick 20 years ago. I didn't realize it was leaky gut. I wasn't absorbing iron, wasn't absorbing calcium because I was pre-osteoporosis issue, and then also my iron was really low. So when I changed my diet, even though I was plant-based, I had to do a plant-based, but more, specialized plant-based. So I changed the foods that were linked to it, and I never had another blood transfusion. So that has to be taken care of. So the gut has to be healed, so you can absorb all those minerals.
Yeah, and if it's just your MCH, NCHC, and your ferritin, that seems pretty straightforward. It seems that, if you heal your overall inflammatory problem, that those should rise. And so, Nitsa, I'm not sure if you have tried the Med Missionary program yet. I remember I got a text from a friend who had just gone through the program, and then she went to her doctor and got her blood work done. And she told me, she said, I've been on iron for many years, all of my adult life. And when I took Med Missionary, I got off of my iron and I just started eating this way. And this is the first time my iron levels have been normal and my anemia has improved. So, I mean, that is an anecdote, right? I mean, but the whole thing is that when you have leaky gut, what happens is that this inflammatory cascade that happens comes back and reacts back on your the cells that line the colon, the enterocytes, and can cause damage to them so that they don't do what they're supposed to do in digesting and absorbing nutrients. And so if you're not absorbing your iron, that can cause you to develop anemia. If you're not absorbing your calcium, you can see how you can have nutrient issues, malabsorption, with the leaky gut that happens, right? And so
Yes.
this is why we're trying to do the dietary changes by decreasing the anti-nutrients by soaking and sprouting, improving nutrient availability, so that's key when you soak and sprout. And then you are also doing the natural remedies directly to the areas that need the help with the inflammation, with the hydrotherapy, with the charcoal, with the enemas. And the other thing about anemia is that it can also be because you're just inflamed. And so when we do all these things to decrease the overall inflammatory status of the body, your your anemic uh, your anemic blood values, your lab levels should improve. Now that doesn't always happen. I'll tell you, like my ferritin has been low. Um, and so I don't want to tell you all that you're all going to improve. Um, but I'll tell you, like, I have a lot of energy for somebody who has very low ferritin. And so, and I have a very complicated picture myself. So I wouldn't want anybody to look at me necessarily because I have a lot of complexity and the Lord is allowing me to do a lot despite all of this. And so I feel like I'm doing pretty well.
I want to mention that the MCH and the MCHC is related to anemia.
Yes.
So once the anemia is taken care, then those will improve the numbers.
Yes. It's all in the same problem spectrum. So Sharon's asking what to do for low iodine levels.
So you can do many things. You know, I would not use, if it's low iodine, it's because they have been tested. So I was just, the black walnut supposed to be good for a source of iodine. So that would be one thing that I would do. The body needs only very small amounts, but I think you have some supplements they can use too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually, Mercy and I probably have a different opinion about it just based upon our own personal experiences and that kind of thing. I personally am using high dose iodine. The thing about iodine is that your body needs just a very small amount. But if you look at the periodic chart of elements, you'll find that iodine is in the same column as a number of other halides, we call them, like chlorine and bromine and fluorine and iodine. Okay, so if you're being exposed to these types of things, like say you go to a pool and then they're cleaning with bromine, if you're drinking soda and they're adding bromine to some of these sugary drinks, I think they used to add bromine to flour. If you're doing the dishes, if you're on city water and you take really hot showers and then that chlorine you're breathing it in, you're imbibing it with your tap water. So you're getting a lot of these other sources of halides that are competitors for your iodine receptor. And so one thing is that you want to get rid of those competitors. And then you want to be eating foods that are going to be higher in iodine. Now, we used to recommend seaweed, and seaweed might still be a good source. It's just that I think we have been a little concerned about all the radioactivity. And so, yeah. But high dose iodine, it is what they do it's an antidote for radioactivity as well. But so what do you recommend? I actually take iodoral, and I have Lugol's. It's just that it's not as convenient. But I do it because I actually have found it to be helpful for certain vascular and muscular problems that I have. There's some people who recommend taking high dose iodine. But I did get tested for it years ago, and there are ways to get tested for it. But so those are the things that I would do. I would avoid competition, and then yeah, of course we want to make sure our food is high in iodine, but the soil is depleted and that kind of thing, and so it is challenging. Hyperion 1844. How much B12 should we consume either via food or supplements per week to get enough on a plant-based whole foods diet? Which is better, via food or supplements, Mercy?
I would say via food is better.
Yeah.
Not to raise the level perhaps, but always the food source is the better. But then you have to eat from your garden, because even if you eat the organic foods, they could be sterilized, so they don't have good or bad. They don't have pesticides, but there's not going to be microbiome to build up your B12. So
Yeah.
you need to eat from your garden and eat varieties. You don't have to eat so many things from your garden, but if you eat 3 or 4 or 2 even, that will raise your B12. Because my B12 was low, so I started being very careful to eating from my garden as much as I can, and that really helped. And I didn't need to take B12. But if you don't, then you will have, and if your vitamin B12 is low, you will need to take supplementation.
Yeah, so they're asking which is better, via food or supplements, how much should they take and all of that. I think with this B12 issue, I was a vegan for much of my life, and my B12 was always pretty normal. Whenever I would check it, it was always around like 600 or so, which isn't super, super high, but it's not like terribly low or anything like that. And then all of a sudden it started to jump around. It started to be like 300 once, and then all of a sudden it was like in the thousands. And so I think we're seeing some weird things happening with B12, and I wasn't even supplementing. So it might have to do with my MTHFR and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know, but I would just check it out, B12, and um, if it's normal, maybe don't stress about it too much. Uh, but nowadays I think it is getting challenging. Even, how many people have their own gardens? How many people are doing that? I'm very interested here on YouTube. How many of you guys here on YouTube are trying to grow as much of your own food as possible? It's really getting to be an important thing. Now they're saying that they're going to put the mRNA jab into lettuce, and they're putting it into our food, and so it's really important that we try to do this. Some of these things that we used to think were such important things for vegans, like B12 and that kind of thing, those might be like the least of our concerns pretty soon. Pretty soon it's going to be, how do you avoid having mRNA put into your food, right? What is the best method to treat H. pylori?
Well, there is different ways to do it. For us, the way we like to do it is do a lot of onion broth, because onion and garlic broth is anti-infective, and you keep flushing, because they stay in the stomach, and then they travel to the esophagus. So you want to flush that, and continuously doing that, and also
Flush it how? Flush it how?
flush it like drinking constantly. I will drink the onion broth, garlic, instead drinking water until that problem is solved. And the garlic that we have this recipe of garlic, lemon, and water. We blend it for each meal. We do that, and that's really helpful also, because it's one of the most powerful anti-infectives, the garlic. And also, yeah, and for the heart burning, things like that, what we do is charcoal. Charcoal should bind some of the, some of what the bacteria is producing, things like that. So I'll do charcoal. We also do bentonite. for the heartburning. So when the heartburning is gone, this treatment should be done, our protocols are 2 months, 2 to 4 months. So if I have this issue, I will do this for 2 months at least, and then retest it. But the symptoms should be improving. If the symptoms are not improving, then you really need to check it out what's going on. Double check again, see if you're having, I don't know, it could be that you might need something more, more serious therapy, perhaps. But I will start with that. That's how we've been helping people. It seems that has been effective.
Okay. So for you, you're saying a lot of it has to do with drinking a lot of these anti-infective herbs and teas and that kind of thing. The garlic especially, is that what you're saying? And the onion?
I drink is with meals, but the onion broth is all day. It's
all day.
Yes.
And then the next question that Barbara had was, how about hyperthyroidism? How would you go about helping someone who has hyperthyroidism?
So hyperthyroidism is it depends, right? If it's autoimmune, it can be autoimmune. Usually it is autoimmune. So same thing, there is a lot of inflammation, there's leaky gut, the microbiome, the bacteria is very unbalanced. So we had to take care of these 3 components: decrease inflammation. So that's going to be through the diet, drinking water, exercise, sleeping, earlier, things like that. And also to take care of the leaky gut, what we do in our protocols at the program, we have this recipe, onion and garlic broth. That's been super helpful to help the leaky gut. And also we do aloe vera. And for the balancing the bacteria or the microbiome, we do also all those things help, especially we do enemas, a lot of enemas for that to speed it up the process of recovering.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, we had a gentleman who had the hyperthyroidism, and he had developed the Graves with the changes in one eye, and he was on a medication when he came to the lifestyle program. And when he was there, he had gotten some labs done prior to coming and found out that his liver was being affected. So he decided to stop taking the medication, continue with the changes there. And then when he went home, got his levels checked and found out his thyroid had normalized, and he was able to stay off of the medications, and he was better about his diet and that type of thing. So these types of dietary changes can be helpful not only for hypothyroidism, because there have been a lot of people who have found significant help with hypothyroidism doing this type of dietary therapeutic change, but also hyperthyroidism. So, I think like sometimes people are like, well, what kind of diet do I have for rheumatoid or for MS or for this? We are doing the same kind of diet with germinating the foods, with elimination diets, with avoiding, foods that are high risk GMO, teaching people about glyphosate, all these things. It's the same principles. You're just trying to improve the environment in your body. You're improving the microbiome, improving the leaky gut, improving the digestibility of food, the nutritional status, all of these things, so that the body can now do what it's supposed to do. It doesn't have to do all this other stuff. And your resources aren't being taken up by trying to fight the inflammation that we're causing every time we eat. I hope that makes sense. Okay, Dama asks, how can we deal with spleen issues? What kind of spleen issues?
Yeah, what are the spleen issues? You might want to explain a little bit. Is that inflammation?
Uh-huh.
Well, we'll see until she responded.
For low iodine, yeah. What about Lugol's? So I do iodoral. I know Lugol's maybe it's just not as convenient because you have to do more drops of it for me to get the same amount because I'm doing very high dose of iodoral iodine. So yeah, I know people do it with Lugol's. It's the same idea. You're getting two different types of iodine. I can't remember um, the chemistry of it, but yeah. What would you do? What was that, Mercy?
Well, I was reading the same question at the same time.
Cindy's asking, what would you do to get rid of blood tests showing mold? So,
You know, it's same thing. You know, when if you have mold in the blood, is because your microbiome is very unbalanced. Could be because you have a lot of mold in the house. So, you know, first thing is remove that. But to remove the mold in the blood is you have to build up the good bacteria, the beneficial bacteria, to clean it up. And you probably should do detox. You know, a lot of binders there to help with this problem. So I will do detox. I will do you know, enemas, building up the good bacteria. I will do enemas with garlic onion broth. Sometimes we do, actually, we've been implementing this in every program now, our lifestyle center. We do vegetable enemas. The last 7 days, 6 days, we do vegetable enemas to build up the good bacteria because we realize very important to, you know, overcome this problem, dysbiosis.
yeah, I have to say, it's with mold, you do want to get rid of it in your house, and that means that you might not be able to see it, right? And so, like, I had these tile counters, and when I moved into my house, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to spend any more money. But I finally thought, you know, these tile counters, you always have to grout it or else, you know, it's pretty unsanitary. So I finally decided I'm going to remove these tile counters. When I did, I found that, you know, there was a crack behind my faucet, and the water had gotten in through that crack and it had gotten into the cabinet behind the cabinets, and so there was mold infiltrating those cabinets. And I could have, you know, when I sent the picture of what the top of the cabinets looked like, just see a few little black dots and whatever, the people who did the, you know, mold remediation, they were like, actually, that doesn't look so bad. You know, we'd probably just, you know, spray it with some vinegar and put some new counters on top of that. But because I have my health issues, I decided I'm going to investigate. And so I actually removed the cabinet from the wall. I took everything apart and I found out there was water that had infiltrated all through the back of the cabinets, and some of them were ruined with too much mold in the back. And the thing about mold is that the toxin that it gives off, it can penetrate through building material. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean that the mold toxins aren't affecting you. And that can be a problem for many of us who are already having immune compromise. And so I decided I got rid of the tile that was the backsplash area. And I also found that there was some mold that had gotten on the drywall. And some of it was in the insulation. And some people will say, no, insulation can't get mold. According to one mold person that I had come in, she said, no, that's false. And so the insulation, instead of being bright pink, it was kind of a pale pink creamish color. And she said that that was the mold infiltration. So I got rid of all of that and redid everything, had mold remediators come in and clean and scour and all that kind of stuff. And then because I was wondering, like, why am I still having issues? I hired a mold sniffing dog, and he came and he sniffed mold in my bathroom, which I didn't see any mold in there, but it had gotten through. There was a window in my shower. And so, for those of you who have windows in your shower, don't think that they have made it so that that window is waterproof, because I thought it looked like it was all sealed up and I wasn't getting any water on that window, but maybe someone had. And so, when based upon the recommendation of that mold sniffing dog, I decided to take my shower apart and found all this black mold underneath that window. So just shows you, like, you need to get rid of these sources of mold. That's my opinion. And especially if you've got it in your blood. And then you have to, do these laws of health, the therapeutic meal plan, going outside into the sun to bake the mold out of you, and all these things. And then, doing binders like charcoal and chlorophyll, and I think diatomaceous earth too. And then what my naturopath, he recommended that you take some kind of mold antibiotic at some point, but I didn't do that. I haven't gotten back to get my blood tested. I might do that at some point, but I'm going to do parasites first. I'm doing a parasite detox, and I'm, doing more of the laws of health, rest, all these kinds of things. That's why I'm not on a whole lot as far as like doing all these podcasts and that kind of thing. And then I'll retest. So
There's a question that will you be doing a Zoom meeting on mRNA in our food? And is organic food safe? So, they do the vaccine mRNA into foods, right? And they're trying to pass in, proposal to ban mRNA vaccine in fruits and vegetables in Florida. So it's very sad that they're doing this. But, I don't think they're doing that to organic foods. So, I'm thinking organics are okay now, and that's the best we can do. We grow foods as much as we can, but we had to supplement foods with the organic foods that we find in the market, and that's the best we can do. And I will leave the rest to God to protect us. All we can do is our best.
yeah, I feel like I do organic in the wintertime. But I know I've heard a lot of things about organic that make me question it too at this point. But even if I grow it out in my garden, unless I'm, in the greenhouse or whatever, they're spraying all this stuff in the skies, and, you're going to be having a lot of these metals and that kind of thing in the food that you grow as well. And so it's like what Mercy was saying, it's like we have to do our best, and then we have to trust in the Lord. And I have to do a lot more praying over my garden and my home, because for us to be healthy at this time in Earth's history, it is a miracle. It is a miracle. And so that's the most important thing that we have to share with people, is that we do everything simply for obedience. We do it for obedience to the Lord, because it is a blessing to have this instruction from the Bible. And we want to be a light to the world. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can avoid all these things. And the Lord promises you, though, He promises you that He will spread a table for you in the presence of your enemies. And so we just have to praise the Lord and trust in Him. Amen. Okay, so
I think it's 6 o'clock now, after 6, and we want to thank you for joining, but we can answer one more question. Yeah? Could you address the best way to balance your microbiome, probiotics, water-based kefir? Thank you.
okay.
Do you want me to answer? Okay. So balancing your microbiome is going to be the way we eat, because the microbes are fed from fiber, are good microbes. So we just need to eat variety of plant-based, whole plant-based, no refined foods, remove all these foods that are very inflammatory. So that'll be a good thing to do. Probiotics, some people can do a lot of research on that, because so far the research I found that probiotics are really not good and not regulated well either. And they're gonna create a very a small not memory, but a small we're supposed to have hundreds of species of bacteria. So when you do probiotics, it has only 3 to 24, the best one. So then when you do that, you're gonna create a lot of billions of bacteria of some type, but we need variety. So it's not gonna be a variety, so it could create some issues. And water-based kefir, we don't do also, anything that's fermented. So we do eat the cabbage, and maybe for 12 hours, 24 hours, we keep it out, but we put a lemon to avoid the reproducing the pathogenic bacteria. And so that's how we do. I think the best thing to do that is just eat variety of plant-based foods to grow hundreds of species of bacteria, hundreds of thousands even. So I think that's the best way to go. And you can do also enemas with vegetables. We do enemas rotating the vegetables. We put 3 vegetables one day, the next day another vegetables. We do herb enemas, things like that. So you're putting this bacteria in the fiber directly into the colon to reproduce, hopefully to a speedy way. So that's how we feel. I feel that is a great way to balance your microbiome.
Because Barbara, you are mentioning here with the probiotics, the kefir, these are, more concentrated ways to improve the microbiome. Basically, we're saying, hey, we've lost a lot of the microbiome. Let's improve it by just throwing a lot of bacteria at it. I think it just shows us, it's kind of like, when I went to the Amazon, how they have all these rainforests, and I saw that they were cutting down a lot of these trees. And then they tried to go back and reforest it, planting some new trees. Those forests are never going to be the same again. And so I think we have to figure out, why is it that so many people today at this time in Earth's history, that we have such bad microbiomes? What's happening, right? And then we have to avoid those things. Those would be like the antibiotics that are wiping out entire forests of bacteria in your gut and elsewhere in your body, right? This would be the preservatives that they're putting in food, glyphosate that they spray on all the food. One of its patents is that it is an antibiotic. And all of these things that interfere with life is going to interfere with your microbiome. And so for people who are eating a lot of processed foods with preservatives and eating GMO foods and all these things, you are affecting your microbiome. And all the people that you interact with who are unhealthy, that's impacting our microbiome. And so, what should we do to improve the microbiome? Avoid as much as possible the things that are going to negatively impact that microbiome. Protect it. Be very gentle with it. And then go out into environments that still have a healthy microbiome. Going out into the forest, interacting with the soil in your garden. Hopefully you're not spraying a lot of chemicals and herbicides on your own lawns and gardens and this kind of thing. And hopefully, you can still find areas where you can interact with nature, and that nature will then impact your microbiome. The healthy food, as Mercy was saying, the more raw food that you're eating, we recommend that you get a lot of raw food into your diet. You grow a lot of that food. You're eating local. You're not eating foods that have been sprayed and have to travel so many miles to visit you. And yeah, so all these things are going to be very impactful. Okay, so we do have to go, but before we go, we want to thank you for joining us. We want to ask that if you found this information helpful, consider checking out MedMissionary at medmissionary.com. We are going to start our next course August the 31st. That is on a Sunday morning. We are with you every Sunday for 6 straight Sundays. We'll teach you how to do a health evaluation, what the meal plan is like. We're going to teach you about the protocol with all the drinks and the juices and the schedule for these things. And then the natural remedies. We teach you how to tweak things if you're somebody that, you know, is needing a little bit more tweaking than the basic protocol. And then how to bring this all together for yourself so that you can let other people know about this information in a way that they would like to know more. You can be a missionary in your family and in your community, letting people know about this beautiful message of health that God has for us. This is going to be one of the last lines of ministry that go on until Jesus comes, medical missionary work. And so the more that we learn about health, how to not only help our own health, but also how to help other people with their health, not just with physical health, but with whole health, looking to Jesus, who is the author and finisher of our faith. So that being said, I hope that you will join us. We would like to close with a prayer. And why don't we do that right now? Mercy, would you like to pray or would you like for me to pray? You are muted.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the blessings that you have given us. Thank you because you have the answers for these difficult conditions, and give us the opportunity also to be able to help people. I just want to ask you that you bless everybody that has joined us, and that please to recover to everybody that's seeking for answers. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
God bless
Just
you.
do you mention the date? We have
I
our
did.
deadline is the 31st of August, so I hope to see you there in our classes. God bless you.
God
Take care.
bless. Thank you.
She said thank you right at the end.